So I was speaking to someone yesterday who's moved to Singapore, and we were talking about his split year treatment that he's going to have to do for 24, 25. And he went to Singapore at the end of July, but only moved payroll from UK payroll to Singapore payroll
Yeah.
at the end of September. Do you just want to cover the issue that creates?
Assuming that you break residence from July when you leave the UK, if you remain on a UK payroll, starting point is that you're going to remain taxable through the payroll, and you'll have UK taxes withheld for the period July to September.
In the August and September payrolls in his situation.
Yes. But if you are actually a UK tax non-resident and you are working outside of the UK, the income is considered sourced to where you're physically located rather than where your employer is located. So again, you end up in a situation where you will have overpaid taxes. And realistically, unless you were to get a P85 sorted straight away, you're going to have to reconcile your position through a tax return. If you were to come off a UK payroll, leave the UK, P85 should sort it out, and you don't have any other reason to file a tax return.
Yeah, if you come off the payroll, like when you leave a job, because by definition, you're going to be, one assumes, you finish the last day, then you leave the UK, then it'll work. But
Yes.
if you're switching location with a company, you really do have to think about whether or not tax return is the way to do it.
Yeah. And I was going to say the way to reconcile it that way would generally be through a tax return. And the other thing that you also then need to be thinking about in the future is, especially if you're working for a larger multinational company, you've got maybe employment-related equity, bonuses, etc. You've got trailing income that you then always need to think about in terms of they'll do any.
Actually, you need to get us to think about it so we can do your tax return.
Obviously. But you'll have a situation where the company are likely to apportion it based upon
Payroll.
On payroll. So based upon a departure date in September, whereas the reality is it should be apportioned to.
And this is a real takeaway, right? So we have this bizarre situation in the UK where, as we said, 30 million taxpayers, give or take 6-7 million on tax returns. And you're led to believe that if you're on PAYE, everything will be sorted out for you. You don't have to come into the tax system. And as you said at the beginning, HMRC keep going down that route of saying, oh, we want to take people out of the tax return system. And then how many examples have we just come up with where the PAYE thing doesn't work?
Yeah.
And so then, and I'm obviously cynical. If that hasn't come across in this podcast yet, I don't know what I've been doing wrong. I'll keep working on it. It is this element. I can't help but think it's this element of people going, or HMRC, how can we avoid having to give people tax refunds? How can we make it as opaque as possible as to what the situation really is?